Hello there, my name is Kyle. We're here at Paradise Fibers today, and I am going to show you how to unskein your yarn using our Swift, of course, the Paradise Fibers Super Swift. A lot of people run into a lot of troubles, and it's really easy to get caught up or tangled. I'm hopefully going to show you some pointers and some tips and tricks that will make your life a lot easier as you unwind this. So the first thing you're going to want to do, most yarns and high-end yarns are going to come in a skein, of course. They're going to be twisted up and all pretty. As soon as you unskein it, you're going to want to, if you can lay it out on a table, great, or using your hands, you're going to want to pretty much find all the ties on it. This particular brand only has one, and you can see it's right there. They're very hard to miss. You'll see that it's the same color as the yarn, so that's typically on most skeins, that's the one that you will actually end up cutting. All the other ones will be just a solid cotton thread or just some undyed thread, and they'll have a couple ties here and there around the skein. So the number one thing that you want to do when you unskein your skein here is find a tie. Doesn't matter what tie it is, find a tie and make sure that all the yarn is going in the same direction and that none are coming back over that tie. And I'll show you an example of that really quick. It will look like something's not right. So you can see on the camera there, hopefully, that these two threads are coming over the tie. And if you put that on your Swift and start spinning, you will be in a world of hurt. It's almost impossible to fix that. It's an absolute nightmare. So you're going to unskein it, find that tie, and you're going to make sure that they're all going in the same direction. Now if you go to one of those ties and they're all in the same direction, you can see that tie all the way around your skein, and you know it's good. Just go ahead and take your hands without letting go of it, bring it to the outside, make sure it's nice and even all the way around. You don't have any loops or knots anywhere. And now we're going to go ahead and put this on our Swift. So we'll come over to the Super Swift here. We'll put it on. After you put it on, what I like to do is tighten it up. If you don't tighten it up, you can see there's a lot of slack. It likes to get hooked on certain things, and it's just a lot easier to work with when it is nice and taut. So we'll tighten it up quite a bit. You don't need a lot of tension on it, but make sure it's not going to go anywhere. Always double check your work, because it is a nightmare if you get caught. Go back to that knot and that string that you were originally looking at. Make sure everything still stayed where it's supposed to. Now what I like to do is, you can see there's some twists. We don't want those at all. We want this to look pretty on here. So the first thing I like to do is untwist everything before I cut anything, just to double check. So I'm going to follow this twist, and all you got to do is grab it, twist it, and I like to bring it up a little bit, because you can see that you'll find a couple more twists. So there's another twist here, so we're just going to flip it the right way, spread it out a little bit on our Swift. And that, that's one thing that I do like about our Swift, is it does have these tall dowels. So not only can it hold big skeins, but if you're using a small skein, like a 50-gram skein like this, you can take advantage of that long peg and and spread it out across that peg, so it's going to make your life a lot easier as we're winding here. Okay, so that looks pretty good to me. You can see now everything's pretty much flowing in the same direction. There's no twists in it. I've got my tie right in between these two uprights here. Great time to double check, because once you cut it, you can't really go back. So I don't have any other ties anywhere else, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to snip this tie. And you should just be able to pull it out like so. And I like to find both ends right off the bat. Looks like here's the other end I cut. Okay, so you can see right now that this strand is on the inside of our skein. We don't want that. You can see where that's going to cause problems. As you're pulling along, it's going to be pulling, and you have a greater chance of it snagging some yarn and jumping up off your post there. We don't want that. So all we're going to do is flip it like we were when we were straightening our yarn out. We're just going to flip it the other way. So our goal here is to have our yarn be pulling from the outside of our skein. So we're just going to keep flipping it, and I like to pull along with it to make sure that it's going to stay on track. We have one more here. Alright, so everything looks good, it's neat. You have a couple options here with this end. I like to just let it hang. If you find it's getting caught on anything, you can bring it into the center and wrap it around one of these posts, and it'll kind of stay out your way, but it doesn't hurt anything for it to be out here. So before I put it on the ball winder, I give it one full rotation of the Swift to double check everything, and you can see there that it's coming off very easily. And whether it's coming from the top or the bottom, since we spread these out, it's gonna be no problem at all. A lot of times at the end of the tie, there's another knot. You can just cut that off. If you want to keep it, you can. You'll have to cut it anyway, because this is actually going to be where you're going to start knitting from, because these are all going to create center pole balls. From there, we're going to put it on to our ball winder. And there's a couple tricks here too that you're going to want to keep in mind. This is probably the most popular ball winder that's sold out there. This center cone does come off. It twists off, so make sure if you don't apply tension on this, you could run into a couple problems. And I'll show you the best way to apply some tension. I like to loop mine all the way across and all the way over to the other side, because if you lose this, you're basically going to have to reskein your entire thing and start over from the get-go, because like I said, these are center pole balls, so you're going to want to start knitting from this end. So I like to put that in the center, make sure it gets caught there, and we'll start winding up all of our slack till we get to our Swift. Okay, so now it's at the Swift. This is not a yarn tensioner right here. This is just pretty much a yarn keeper. It's not going to apply any tension onto your yarn. A lot of people, and it's true, that if you apply too much tension, you're going to stretch your yarn out and you're going to lose the bounce. We don't have to apply a ton of tension. We just want to pinch it with our two front fingers and make sure there's some sort of tension on here. Because if you don't, what'll happen is, you can see this kind of rotates on an axis at 45 degrees. If you get cranking really quick, if there's no tension on this, it's got a tendency to just boop and pop right off the top, and then you're in big trouble. So make sure you do get a little bit of tension on your fingers. And the other reason I like to hold it with my fingers up front here is, if for some reason you run into any issues with the Swift, it's quick to stop this. So we'll go ahead and wind this on really quick. If you have tension on there and you've done everything I've showed you on the Swift, you can get cruising really quickly. You're not going to get snagged on anything. You can see it's coming off really easily. And if you have not seen our Swift or ball winder video before, I'm going to show you kind of a neat feature on this particular Swift that I really like. And you can see, and you're probably wondering what all those pegs in the center are for. The 4 small pegs are actually what hold on the arm. So it's collapsible. It stores in a nice little muslin bag that you get with it. Okay, so you can see how nice this ball is. We didn't have any issues with the Swift. Nothing got caught, nothing got snagged. So I'm just going to pull this center. I like to pull it all the way out, make sure I don't lose that end. And you're just going to slide this off nice and slow. And you can see how beautiful that ball turned out. And we didn't have any issues. No yarn was going back on itself. The Swift never got snagged or caught. And something is, I'm going to show you what this big peg is for. So on the Swift, this peg here is actually, we put on to use as a skeiner. So all you're going to do is just tie a overhand knot. Nothing fancy. You don't have to do a surgeon's knot. Tie that on there. I'm going to set this on the ground for now. But this, if you are, a hand dyer, oh no, my knot came undone. You guess we'll double knot it just to be sure. Okay. Hand dyer, or you spin your own yarn, or for some reason you want to take one of your balls and put it back into a skein, all you got to do is use this tall peg, and that's your handle. So most skeiners you see are actually perpendicular to the ground. This one, obviously, we just doubled our Swift as a skeiner. It works great. It does the job. It's not its primary use. It's obviously used as a Swift. But I love this feature on ours, and you can see that you can really get cruising here. And the nice thing is, when we talked about having all of our yarn come from the outside and aligning everything, it's kind of doing that right now. It's winding it from the inside to the outside, so when you are done, you can just put it right back onto the ball winder. Wherever your tie is, you're going to know that one strand's going to be coming directly from the outside of the skein. We are almost done here. So you're most likely going to run into a lot of problems with the lace weight stuff and the boucle stuff. Some 100% wool, the yarn that likes to stick to itself, that's where you're going to have the issues, and that's where it's going to be really important that you make sure you follow all these steps that I've shown you in this video, because if you don't, you're going to have a lot of problems. It's going to get stuck on the Swift, it might get caught, so make sure you follow those steps. So as you are putting it onto your Swift, make sure the ties are still intact, all of your yarns going in the same direction before you cut them. Once you cut them, you find your end piece and you pull it by your hand. Make sure it's coming from the outside. If it's not coming from the outside, all you got to do is flip it around. It's very easy to do that. If you have to take off some of the tension, you can. But make sure it's coming from the outside, and then you're good to go, ready to start winding it up on your ball winder. Thank you for coming and watching our video today here at Paradise Fibers. If you have any questions, feel free to call us or email us anytime at paradisefibers.com. Our phone number is 888-320-7746. And if you decide you want a Swift, this is our maple version. We also have a new special edition in walnut. You can also find those on our website. I'm glad you made it. This is Kyle at Paradise Fibers signing off.